Hey girlies, Amber here. Before we jump into the show, I have something for you. That's right, it's a gift, something for free, just to make you feel abundant and wealthy. I put together a super chic, free to download net worth tracker. It's super cute and pretty, and it gets the job done. Listen, I've been tracking my net worth since 2016, and since then, it's grown by 677%. It's insane. And listen, it's not the net worth tracker that did it, but it is my attention to my big financial goals. And seeing it all on paper has given me the laser focus that I need to get really serious about my financial journey. Keeping track of your net worth is one of the most powerful things you can do to take control of your financial life, and I want to help you do that. So this is free to download. You can get it at oldmoneypodcast.com/networth, all one word. Drop your email. It'll get sent to you immediately. You just make a copy. It's in Google Sheets, and you can plug all your numbers in to see what your net worth is today. Again, it's oldmoneypodcast.com/networth. If you have questions about how to use it, go back and listen to episode 35. It's called Tracking Your Net Worth. It's worth its weight in gold because that's what it really is. oldmoneypodcast.com/networth, and let me know what you think. Hello, rich girls. Welcome back to Old Money, the podcast for women building the trust funds they wish they were born with. I'm your host, your very humble host, Amber Frankusen. Thank you for being here today. And this episode is for you. I mean, all of the episodes are for you, but this one's really for you because I put out a call on social and in my last episode about answering your questions and doing a huge Q&A. And we got so many people writing in. I think this is going to have to be a two-parter. So if you recently wrote in, whether on email or through DMs on Instagram, oldmoneypodcast@gmail.com or oldmoneypodcast on Instagram or TikTok, we're answering your questions. Like, I will answer every single one. I'm always going to be an open book. I always want to make sure that even if I don't know the answer, I'll research it for you. We'll figure it out together. But the reason why I'm feeling so humble today is because there's a lot of new people in the audience. Welcome. Hello. I'm Amber. Nice to meet you. Pleasure's all mine. But as our community grows, I mean, there's more people who don't know who I am or don't know what Old Money's about. And there's a couple questions that came through that are really resetting us. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things in particular. Number one, why I'm so obsessed with money. Number two, some investments. And then number three, just kind of like the philosophy of old money. If we have time, depending on how much I talk, I have a couple other in here as well, like old money. What is an old money man? How to start a business. We're going to talk about networking. That might actually have to be its own episode 2 of networking. I'm just obsessed. I'm obsessed with you guys, and I'm so grateful that you're here. And one of the things I wanted to also say too is, as I'm going through this process of, we're talking about different things, and as questions come up and we do these episodes together, if you need resources, that's what I want to be. That's what I want this podcast to be, is a resource that you can tap into. Also some good vibes to get your money mentality right. If you're feeling low, you know what episodes you can go back and re-listen to get you in the mood to do your money date or reacquaint yourself with your money rituals, or even reframe your business challenges as questions to answer, regulating your nervous system, like whatever it is you need. This is not just like a news show where we go through different things. I want this to be an evergreen kind of like library of resources for you to come back to. And with that, a lot of what we talk about here is, theoretical or in practice, or I'm explaining concepts, but a lot of what we need as women, as people, as whatever, to manage our money are actual resources, templates, etc. So that's what inspired me to create the Old Money Net Worth Tracker, which just dropped a couple weeks ago. It's available for download for free, oldmoney.com/networth. And if you've downloaded it and you're using it, I would love to know. Number one, I want to make sure our systems work well. So like, if you put in a request and like you're missing the email, you never got it, send me a DM. I will personally troubleshoot with anybody out there that needs help. And then making sure the instructions in the email that you get are clear, that you're going to get a Google Sheet, and then you're going to make a copy of it because it's locked so that you can't edit the main one. You're going to make a copy, and then you're going to be able to put in all of your numbers and save it to your own Google Drive so that you have that resource. And so my question for you is like, Do you not have a Google account? Is this something that's complicated? Is this something that works? I want to be able to continue to build these resources for you. I'm really excited. We're finally going to get into the B word. I don't like this word, but budgeting. But we're going to use my proprietary monthly money map system. And I'm working on a template for you so you can have my exact monthly money map. I mean, the thing's insane. So I'm trying to make it a little bit less complicated if we're going to be completely honest. But what resources do you need? Are the ones that you have working for you? So again, this podcast is for you. It's for the community and I'm here to serve. Like this is my dharma, my mission. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, y'all. So like, this is what I want to work on. Please let me know if the old money net worth tracker worked for you. If you have questions about it, I'm here for you. So let's get into today's episode, which is 100% my favorite thing in the world, mailbox money. What is mailbox money? Essentially, it's cash that you make passively. So from real estate investments, stock market investments, dividends, other businesses, etc. And it gives you just the best life ever where you get to go open your mailbox and you get money in there without a lot of work. It is what I believe to be one of the most beautiful, expansive, gorgeous things that you can do in your wealth building journey. And when I think about the other things that are beautiful, gorgeous, and make me feel wealthier than hell, it's getting letters from you. So this is my version of mailbox money, where I'm here to answer your questions, comments, thoughts, and prayers about becoming rich. I love your love notes. They are my mailbox money. So with that, let's get into it. Do you guys hear that? Sound effects on the show? I have some letters that I printed out and I'm really excited to get into them today. The first question that actually came through. Here's my second prop, my phone. Do you like that ASMR? My phone through Instagram. And this was a comment that was submitted through the question box. Well, it's from Instagram, so I'm going to make it anonymous. But the question is, I love this. We're going to start off really spicy. Are you obsessed with money? And do you think it buys happiness? Ooh, sis. Okay, so let's get into it. Am I obsessed with money? Yes and no. I mean, I use the word obsessed to talk about absolutely anything. Like right now, I'm obsessed with traders. I'm obsessed with my dog. I'm also obsessed with matcha. Am I obsessed with money? Yes, I love it. Obsessed, right? Sis, like the Gen Z language. I am not obsessed with money though. The whole purpose of setting up the old money mindset, functionality of systems, etc., is so that I don't have to be obsessed with my money. I know that it's something that's there to support me. It's running in the background. My systems are happening and I can be hands off. I know somebody who carries around a little tiny ledger in their wallet and writes down every single expenditure at the grocery store, at a restaurant, tracking and constantly balancing accounts. This person's a millionaire. That is not my idea of living well. That's my idea of being obsessed with every last penny and nickel. I'm obsessed with money in the way that I'm fascinated by it. I love to understand our psychology, the way that our emotions play into it, how we treat it based on what we're going through in our physiology with old programming. I'm obsessed with money in the way that I understand what it can offer me as it relates to lifestyle, resources, opportunities. So am I obsessed with money like I'm sweating over every single dollar? No. In fact, the more money that I've made, the more I don't know, like relaxed around the whole thing because I've done the work to set up the systems. And some of the systems, you've heard me talk about them before. It's understanding where every single dollar that I earn goes into savings, investments, into my monthly expenses. Like I know my numbers. I'm not the type of person that's just spending willy-nilly and guessing and hoping. I did that for a long time and it was so dramatic and it was so stressful. So I know where all my money goes. I know exactly where I want it to go, right? And it goes there because I put the systems in place to handle it automatically. I think there's a healthy level of obsession and, my interest and desire to have it. But what's the desire around? So the second part of the question is, do you think money buys happiness? And I mean, there were studies done. It used to be money buys happiness when you have a salary of $70,000 or more. The other study in front of me, or this is an article. Hold on, let me tell you where it's from. Where did that page go? An article from Business Insider that millennials think they need $525,000 a year to be happy. It was a survey. We're going to break that down in another episode. It's very interesting. But like, what is this all based in? Does it buy happiness? No, you cannot purchase happiness at a store. Happiness is not a commodity that you can buy, but it is a state of being. And what drives happiness or what drives happierness? Maybe less stress, maybe access to more resources, maybe better self-care or healthcare. There's a lot of things that contribute to our quality of life that money can help us have. And there's definitely a level when you are not earning enough to comfortably live, when you're not earning enough to buy health insurance for yourself, when you're in debt and you're stressed about it and you're paying so much in interest, that is going to degrade your quality of life because you are in a state of financial fight or flight. If you think about money as the energy that flows through your body, just like, nervous energy or fearful energy or whatever else, when you have strong systems and you create a flow of money energy that is stable, solid, it's growing, it's saving, and the system is contributing to your day-to-day quality of life and also the growth that you wish to see in your life, that's going to take you from a state of financial fight or flight to a calm financial nervous system, right? Does money buy happiness? Again, no, you can't buy happiness at the store, but your entire life and the feelings that you want to feel can be influenced by the resources that you have. It's just the truth. So again, if you get sick and you don't have health care because you can't afford it, that's going to be something that is going to degrade the quality of your life in a very real way. And that's unfortunately a reality for so many people out there. I don't want anybody to struggle to get the care that they need or deserve for whatever they're going through. Therefore, it's all of our responsibilities to figure out how to play this game so that we can decide how we're going to benefit from it, playing the game in the matrix of capitalism or whatever it is, so that we can pursue what makes us happy by having the shelter, the food, the healthcare, the love, the relationships, the self-expression and the clothes that you buy, whatever it is that brings you to the higher level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You remember that from Psych 101. So does money buy happiness? No, but money can afford you resources that will allow you to fully self-express, to fully take care of yourself and your family in a way that not having money doesn't. And the flip side of that conversation, the philosophical conversation of it all, is like people who have a lot of money, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be happy. It just doesn't. We all know a lot of people who have money and are totally, totally unhealthy. And I mean that like mentally and emotionally unhealthy, right? They're miserable. So what is that? Well, again, as we're on this journey of taking care of ourselves, owning our emotions, being cognizant of the emotions that we feel or the things that come up, the old programming, we get to choose to, and this ties into old money philosophy 101, we get to choose to break the generational patterns. We get to choose to be different with our money, our life, our work-life balance, the way that we raise our families, because we're becoming conscious of the programming that we've, absorbed in our life. And so generational wealth is not just about handing your kids a trust fund and saying, oh, here you go. You get to inherit my business, or you don't have to work, or your college is paid for, whatever it is. Generational wealth is the emotional wealth, the mental wealth, the mental health wealth that we can pass on to our kids, our dogs, our nieces and nephews, our friends' kids, if kids are not in your future, and just the overall positive kind of vibration that we can all bring when we're taken care of. It's that same stupid, overused platitude they talk about in mental health, which is when you're on the airplane and the oxygen bags drop from the ceiling, you have to put yours on first before you can help anyone else, because you're no good to anyone if you pass out from lack of oxygen. So it's not even just self-serving, right? I'm not just trying to get rich so I can buy a bunch of Fendi bags. I'm trying to do well so that I can be a better member of society. I can be a better partner to my partner and maybe a future mother someday. I'm a better dog mom when Poppy has better quality food and I never have to compromise on getting her the healthcare that she needs, that she deserves. There are so many things that tie into it. So money does not guarantee happiness. It doesn't buy happiness, But what we can do as we're taking care of ourselves in this moment on the journey to wealth is decide that number one, it's a game. Like we've all decided to play the game. So how can we make it fun? How can we enjoy it? How can we balance, growing our investment accounts and our savings accounts with enjoying the life that we have today? Are we just saving money for retirement so that we can, work our asses off and then at 65 die of a heart attack the day after we retire? No, that's not what old money is. We're trying to live well now within reason and always doing more and better for ourselves. So I love this question. It's definitely a spicy one. Am I obsessed with money? Kind of. Yeah, I love it, but I'm not hyper fixated on it and it doesn't run my life. And I actually, other than my money dates and recording this podcast, don't think about it that much. Everything else, I know what I'm doing in reason. Actually, this is a really good segue. I was going to do another question next, but this is a really good segue to another Instagram question. I was going to do this on the next episode, but let me pull it up. Hold on. The question came from another Instagram box, like a question box. And the question was, what is the best way to use a credit card and not overspend? We always pay it off, but wow, ... And I love this question because going back to how much I think about money or what I think about money, the way that I think about using a credit card and not overspending is similarly to how I had to learn to eat. Let me know if this resonates with you. But if you've ever dieted or you've ever counted macros before, you've ever tried to watch your food or caloric intake, what we always notice is that our portion sizes are usually a little out of whack. It's everything from sitting down with a snack of chips and like measuring out how many chips are in a serving size so that you're aware of it versus eating your protein and understanding what 6 ounces of chicken look like or 8 ounces of salmon and knowing, eyeballing it to say, oh, that's a good portion size. So when you go to the restaurant and you've had a couple glasses of wine and they bring you a 16-ounce porterhouse steak, you're like, okay, I don't need to eat 16 ounces of steak. I'm going to cut this in half, save half of it for later, and I can indulge in 8 ounces of steak. And I know kind of eyeballing how that's going to make me feel, or I can kind of consider quickly the math of, what else did I eat today? Oh, well, I had a piece of chocolate cake for lunch, so maybe I won't have a piece of chocolate cake for dessert at dinner. And it's about eyeballing it. So for me, spending is kind of like how I've learned portion control with food. It's taken me a lot of years to understand portion control for food and money. And the way that I talked about kind of doing that mental math right away is what I do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis about what my expenditures are. So there's 2 things on this. Number one, going back and trying to remember when you're in the moment of spending can be really, really hard. And it's often inaccurate. Same thing with like, oh, did I have that chocolate cake yesterday or today? I don't know. Let's just forget it and indulge anyway, right? It's about being really honest. And the best way to be really honest is to track it. And that's why we have tools like MyFitnessPal to log our macros and log our food intake, right? Well, if you think I'm going to use MyFitnessPal every day to log my macros for the rest of your life, you're crazy because again, that is obsession. That is hyperfixation. That is perfectionism. That is not a old money way to live. I want to live a easy, soft life. I don't want to be counting my macros all the time, but I also don't want to get my eating to be out of control. So the skill to learn was eyeballing portion sizes, understanding what I really need to eat in the day, and then being conscious about how I feel about it afterwards, right? And it's the same thing with money. So there's different tools that you could use like MyFitnessPal to start getting you into the consciousness of what you're spending so that you can build that muscle and start to eyeball your expenditures to not go over budget. So the very first step in this is saying, what is your budget? Again, the B word. I hate the B word. It's such a yucky word. So we're going to rebrand that for sure. But the B word is so important because if you don't go in with a plan, you will overspend because you don't know how much you have going to all these different places. And that's why my monthly money map helps me map out all of the things that I'm going to spend on. It gets detailed, y'all. This is built for women. So when I was getting my hair done and I had to buy new extensions once a year, and then every 6 weeks I would get them moved up, I would program into my monthly money map of when I was going to be spending on my hair, and how much it was going to cost me. So I knew if I was getting my hair done in September and I also needed to buy new extensions, guess what? I can't afford Botox that month. Or if Botox is more important to me, then I take my extensions out and I get the Botox instead. It's about being super conscious and intentional about where your money goes. And now those are personal expenses for me. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I went to Costco and fuck, I went out of control. Well, what you need to understand is where your money goes overall in the entire scope of things. So, like, what is your budget for the month based on what your income is, how much you're spending, how much you're investing? And then after you pay your fixed costs, what's left over for these variable costs that can get out of control? That's where people get into trouble with credit cards, right? And it's not just the big purchases. It's not just the Sephora trips. It's Costco, it's Target, it's living, it's inflation, it's convenience, it's working a 14-hour day and then ordering DoorDash 5 nights in a row. It can catch up to you. So, number one, you have to get intentional about where your money is going to go. And then you have to stick to the plan or make adjustments when things don't go according to plan. So, the first thing that I would say is the monthly money map and really writing out what your income is. Subtract the money you're putting into savings, subtract the money you're putting into investments, understand what your fixed costs are. And then your variable costs, you need to think about all of the different categories in your life. And my monthly money map, which I promise is coming soon, I will get it out to you guys as quickly as I can. You need to go through and input estimates of what you think that you'll spend on different things. Now, this can be hard at first if you're not conscious of your money. If you don't know how much you spend on groceries any month and you're like, I don't know, $200, $800, and you have no idea, it can be really, really hard to know where to start. Over time, this process becomes really easy because if you do this consistently, I've done this consistently for 5 years. I know exactly how much I spend in every category in my life on average per month and on an annual basis. So much so I can break it out into percentages. Like I spent this much percentage on housing, this much percentage on clothes, this much percentage on whatever. In fact, if you go back and listen to the episode I did for the end of year budget breakdown, I talk about all of these targets and where you should be percentage wise, or where you could be rather, because it really does depend on what stage of your life you're in, what targets you could hit for percentage of money invested, percentage of money saved, all that kind of stuff. So understanding where you want to map your money to go and how much you're going to budget per month is such a key. Then you're going to use the MyFitnessPal of money. And there's a couple different things you can do. Number one, the old school Dave Ramsey method, which I have done before, is the money envelopes, where you're going to pull out your cash that you have to spend for the month, and you are only allowed to use cash to buy things. And you put the money that you have for groceries in one envelope and you write groceries on the front. You put the money that you have for clothes in another envelope and you put clothes on the front. You have a budget for going out to eat. You put that money in an envelope and you write going out on the front of that envelope. And that is the only money that you have. I've told this story before, but when I was in credit card debt and really, really paying it off and I wasn't going to use my credit cards, number one, I got new credit cards because your girl had remembered her credit card number, all 16 digits, baby. I could roll them off my tongue. You want me to say like, just connect your credit card from autofill on Google? Yeah, it's cool. I knew it by heart and the CCV and the expiration, okay? I had to get new credit cards, so I didn't know the number. And then I actually put them in Ziploc baggies of water and I froze them in the freezer so that if I was going to use a credit card, I was going to have to get out a hammer, go outside and crack that baby open so that I could get to my credit card in case of emergency. I put my cards on ice. It was a huge game changer because I had such a reaction to just pulling for them. And at that point, I wasn't within my budget. My financial fight or flight was out of control. I was spending on everything. And so I needed to slow down and freeze them and only go to cash. And I also disconnected, like I said, my autofill from Google, from my phone. There was no Apple Pay on my phone. You got to turn that all off. That's how things can get really easily out of control. Same thing with DoorDash. Same thing with, I don't know what else, Ubers. Turn it all off. I can hear you right now. I can hear you being like, bitch, they only take Apple Pay at my coffee shop. Like, I have to have Apple Pay on my phone. Or no Ubers. How am I supposed to get around? Okay, well, listen, if you budget for Ubers, that's chill, baby. Use them. I love that for you. Like, please don't drink and drive, right? But if you haven't budgeted for coffee and you're spending mindlessly every morning on coffee using Apple Pay, there's this weird, like, psychological thing that happens when we use our phones or credit cards where it doesn't feel like we're exchanging money for anything. It's just automatic. So if you need to budget better or be more aware of your spending, take your cash to Costco and do the math while you're shopping and make decisions. There's trade-offs. And there's trade-offs. There's always going to be trade-offs. Listen, when you're a multi-bajillionaire, you're going to still make trade-offs. Am I going to buy the yacht this year or am I going to buy the jet? Well, looks like we're going to fly private for another couple years before we can buy the jet. People somehow think that once you get to a certain level of wealth, then you're not going to have to make sacrifices or decisions. But in every stage of your wealth building, you're going to need to make the choices that best suit what your goals are for that moment. Even when you get wealthier, like Jeff Bezos, for example, he's making decisions about, are you buying a sailing yacht and putting a carved statue of Lauren Sanchez on the front? Or are you going to save the planet? You can't do everything all at once. Well, maybe Jeff Bezos is a bad example because he's literally one of the richest men in the world and he actually could probably do anything. I mean, he's building spaceships for God's sakes. But my point is, even when you get into higher echelons of wealth, there's still trade-offs to be made. So going back to the question, how do we control the credit card spending if it just kind of burns through every month? We got to slow it down. We got to get MyFitnessPal in order. So if you're somebody who needs more of a daily check-in, like an actual MyFitnessPal that tells you where you're at any given moment on your fats, carbs, and proteins, you need to use an app. So I personally have used my monthly money map spreadsheet for years. I like to be in the numbers. I like to add it up. I like to see and review my expenses. But there's a ton of apps out there. The best one, I think, is YNAB for somebody who's just learning how to budget. It's called YNAB. You need a budget. It's very basic about just spending habits. There are a ton of options out there, though. I will say Mint is probably the most popular one, but it just got shut down, or it was the most popular one. It was a really good interface, and they just like retired it for some reason. So there's this other app, a competitor that's been blowing up. It's called Monarch Money. And if you want to use them, this is not sponsored, by the way, but if you put in the code, I think it's Mint50. I used this a couple of months ago. It's going to give you 50% off an annual membership. And it basically tracks, you set it up so that it correlates with all of your credit cards, all of your bank accounts, your savings, etc. What I like about Monarch Money over YNAB is that Monarch Money helps you set up your investment accounts, your goals. It does projections for retirement, for savings, etc. It's got a lot of calculators built into it, so it gives you more of a net worth picture. But I'm going to be honest with you, I bought the annual membership. I'm going back to my manual money map because for me, I feel like I know my numbers better that way. Anyway, if you need a budget though, you want to stay on track, what's nice about Monarch Money, and I'm just going to open up the app right now, is that it'll let you know when you have transactions to record in their different categories. You can customize the categories so you can have utilities, internet, Spotify, Netflix, etc. Or you can say subscriptions, or you can say pet, or whatever it might be. So it'll tell you when you have transactions to log. And then there's another tab called budget, and it will tell you the income you budgeted for, the expenses you budgeted for, and overall on the whole month, your income to expenses. So for example, I'm looking at my budget here, and I set these budgets up at the beginning of the year. So I know about what I get in all my different forms of income each month, and that helps me distribute what my budget would be so that I have a little bit left over or nothing left over at the end of the month because I've put money in investments, into savings, etc. And then I have my fixed costs and my variable costs. So fixed costs are the costs that are going to be the same amount every month, like your mortgage or your rent, or maybe your internet or your phone. And then the variable costs are things that are going to be variable based on how much you buy or how often you buy or what you buy. So looking at some of my variable expenses right now, in gas, I budget $100 a month. We are a one vehicle household, and either Justin and I will pick up gas like as we need it. We don't really have a discussion about it, but we both drive like surface streets. Neither of us commute to work. So this is not a big expense for me at all. And I can see that I went over on my gas budget because I picked up gas for our car last time and I spent $125 on it. So I'm over on my gas budget by 25 bucks. But then on my Uber budget, this is all under my transportation section here. I had budgeted $50 for Uber because we're a one car household. We kind of use Uber as our second car. And I have $11 remaining in my budget for this month. So I can either take in $11 Uber, or I can kind of look at this category as a whole and be like, okay, 11 minus 25 is, 14 bucks or whatever. So I'm just over in my transportation budget by $14 this month. So I need to balance this out, to make it work, to reconcile it, make sure that I'm $14 less in another category so that I don't go over budget. I can make decisions on this. So it's the middle of the month right now. So I can either decide I can't afford any more gas, I can't afford any more Ubers, or I'm going to cut out of other categories. So let me jump to another category here, like food and dining. For example, we were doing meal deliveries. I've talked about it on the show. It's such a hack for us to do meal deliveries as opposed to groceries, just because our lifestyle is so full right now and so busy. So I budgeted $600 a month for meal delivery, and I budgeted $600 a month for groceries. However, this month I was traveling a bunch, so it didn't make sense for us to continue the meal delivery. So we paused it and went to groceries instead. And by the way, I normally run my card on this, and then Justin and I reconcile at the end of the month. So I take care of most of the food costs. I just take care of most of the food if we're not eating out. So on meal delivery, I had $600 budgeted, but I have $445 left in that line item. But on groceries, I have $90 left on that line item. So if I want to use up my whole food budget, that means I have $445 plus $90 left in my budget for this month. I can either spend that on food, or I can decide to allocate $14 back to my kind of transportation budget so I can reconcile that. And I can also say, wow, I have a lot of extra money left over in this line item this month. Like, where else could I better use that money? Let me look at the rest of my budget. So those are just two examples here. And again, you have this, it's tied to all your bank accounts. It's live. So if you're at the store and you need to see how much money you have left in your account for this expense, you just look at your Monarch Money app and it tells you how much money you have left over or how much money you don't have. And this is the exact same thing I'm talking about with MyFitnessPal or tracking your macros or your calories. It's like over time, you start to learn to eyeball it. So I don't look at my Monarch Money app when I need to make a purchase decision. I kind of just know. My spending's very regular also. And I spend a lot of time in my money dates planning where I'm going to spend it, where I want it to go, what's available to me. And then over time, I get better and better data because it's historical, right? I'm tracking how much I spend on groceries every month. So that number is pretty freaking accurate. And unless I start buying bottles of Veuve Clicquot at every single grocery trip, I'm not really going to go over budget. And I know exactly what I'm spending. So it's, again, I get it. It can be like, wow, at the end of the month. And that note really made me laugh, by the way, because I've felt that, like, what happened? But you've got to build that muscle, and there's a lot of tools out there. So again, if you're going to really start from the beginning, I think the cash method is really helpful, especially if you're in debt, especially if you don't want to be using credit cards because you can't pay them off every month. Freeze your credit cards, get back to the cash method until you really get a hold of it from like a tactical level. Like, again, I love to hold the money, exchange it, deal with change, like put it in its envelopes. It's like a weird, cumbersome process that you should have to go to kind of like recalibrate. And as you start getting more sophisticated and understanding what you're exchanging for goods on a budget, you can move into something like YNAB or Monarch Money, where you're going to use cards now, not cash, and then let these accounts connect into your app and manage your budgets per line item so that you are really in control of it. So again, those two, YNAB and Monarch Money, not sponsored, but they should be. I'll call you guys. And I think those are really good opportunities to tap in. And then as you get more and more sophisticated, you might not need these budgeting apps because you start to learn how to eyeball your serving sizes or your expenditures a little bit more, like eyeballing how much burrito you can have before you feel like absolute garbage. So great question. I love that one. Thank you so much for submitting your question through Instagram. Listen up, rich girls. There is a huge mindset gap between those who try to do it all and those who know when and why to hire an expert. The ones who know when to call in support can count on having better results with less effort, especially when it comes to travel. We're talking about the difference between scraping up a last-minute trip together because you're burnt out and need a break, or having an expert team craft the most incredible, exclusive, custom vacation experience that will blow you away and make your Instagram one to envy. I'm proud to share that today's episode is sponsored by HC Travel Firm, a boutique travel agency that crafts flawless trips for families, couples, or solo travelers. This is a huge old money hack, babe. The Rockefeller way is not to waste hours scouring the internet for deals or ideas. Instead, HC Travel Firm acts as your personal concierge to create a comprehensive itinerary for you to review and approve, handling every detail and every reservation from start to finish. All you need to do is pack your most fabulous outfits and jump on that plane. The rest is taken care of for you. Just tell the team what type of trip you want. Anything from a spa retreat in Thailand to a beach vacation in St. Bart's, or I don't know, a wine tasting through New Zealand, or hookups to all the best après-ski party in Aspen. It's the HC Travel team that's going to be dedicated to providing their clients with the ultimate travel experience around the globe to give you exactly what you're looking for. The HC Travel team has a combined 30 years of experience and has planned over 5,000 trips. So they definitely know what's up. They have connections in every major city to make your travel dreams come true. So if you're planning your escape and are ready to take it to the next level, I need you to talk to HC Travel Firm and tell them Old Money sent you. Find them online at hctravelfirm.com or on Instagram at hctravelfirm and let me know where you're going next. Okay, next one. This note I've been sitting on for a while, and when I tell you I am obsessed with this letter, it's from Lachlan. And it says, a good day, or good day, as a gentleman would say. I work as a truck driver moving a rig package across outback Queensland, Australia, and happened across your podcast last night. I hope more episodes come quickly because I am already through 6 of them. Just a quick note to say it's a well put together podcast. I am enjoying it very much and already utilizing some of the advice. My daughter's in Canada, and I was motivated to earn more when you enlightened us to the cost of sororities. I had wondered if it was similar for my son. Thank you for including the gentleman listeners in your intro and content. I really appreciate being included as I think the show is fantastic. And it made me wonder if an episode on how a man should put himself together, style, attitude, etc., would work, and or an episode on luxury motor vehicles would be very cool too. My wife has always wanted a Bentley. Thanks for the effort put into the show, Lachlan. Lachlan, I love you. If you're still listening, please send me another note to let me know that you heard this, because this note is so sweet and generous and just amazing. Thank you. Hello from San Diego all the way to Australia. I also need to know if you're watching Love at First Sight Australia, which I hear is the biggest show on 9 Now. And the way that I'm obsessed, the new season of Love at First Sight Australia with Justin, we went through season 10, season 6. Now we're on season 11. You guys, Australian TV is next level reality television. I can't even explain it. First of all, there are 40 episodes per season. They release like 3 a week. So this is not like the 1 a week BS that we get with Bravo shows. They will fire hose you with drama, and it's the most delicious. And also the characters are so incredible. I'm starting to learn like the topography and like the different types of people that come from, you know, Byron Bay and Gold Coast and Sydney and Perth and Tassie and all these different places. So first of all, if anybody out there is watching Love at First Sight Australia, Married at First Sight Australia, please send me a DM. I have to discuss it with you. Kylie, if you're out there, I know that you were obsessed with it. Kylie is my lash girl. You guys, if you need lashes done in San Diego, another sidebar. I'm sidebarring off of a sidebar. If you need your lashes done in San Diego, you need to see my girl, Kylie. It's Kai Artistry. Let me know. I'll send you her information on Instagram. She's phenomenal and hysterical. And she can talk to you about Love at First Sight, Married at First Sight Australia. I keep messing up the name because we both watched season 10 together. I think you can still get season 10, most of it anyway, on lifetime.com for free if you need to know what I'm talking about. If your content plate is empty because you've already watched Love is Blind, this is the next stop on the reality train. You're gonna be obsessed. Anyway, Lachlan, back to you. Wanted to say again, thank you for this note. And I loved this question. And I honestly, well, first of all, as it relates to luxury cars, I'm not your girl. I don't know anything about cars. I like them. I like to drive them, but I like my Jeep. Like I don't understand luxury vehicles. So we'll have to get an expert on the show to have you come talk about that, have them come talk about it. But I love the other part of your question here or your prompt, which was talking about an old money man, how a man should put himself together, style, attitude, all that kind of stuff. And since I'm not an old money man, I had to call in some external resources. And the external resource was Justin, my amazing fiance. I still won't get over that word. I don't like the word fiance. So now I'm calling him my partner, like we work at a freaking law firm together. But my boyfriend, he'll always be my boyfriend, Justin. And we were having wine last weekend and chatting about this concept of like, what is an old money man? Well, first we had to talk about the paradigm of old money in general, which is my version of old money, our version of old money, this community's version of it, which is these are the new rules to building generational wealth and a wealthy life and what that looks like. So this is not your idea of a prep school boy or somebody who's at boarding school or comes from a wealthy family, is a member of the Skull and Crossbones, whose daddy is a lawyer. An old money man to me is somebody who is so comfortable in their skin, so confident and so assured, so self-assured, because they know that the world is changing. There is no competition with the old money families. This is about forging a new legacy. And what does it mean to forge a new legacy? It means to move forward on your own path. And the things that Justin and I discussed that were so interesting, because you asked like style, attitude, what is an old money style? Well, for goodness sakes, they're some of the most incredible, brilliant men in the world, best athletes, and they all have different style. Like Killa Trav and his stupid, matching sets and his necklaces, like whatever, it's not my vibe. And then you have some of the best surfers in the world who are wearing board shorts every day. And I would take business advice from Laird Hamilton or Kelly Slater. These men are incredibly successful, incredibly skilled as athletes, but you could never put them and Travis Kelce next to each other and say, well, one of these is old money style and the other one isn't. Like they're both the new version of that. These are both people that are leaving an impactful legacy on the world and they embody style that's true to them. But the thing that Justin and I definitely agree on is mindset. And I think that's actually what really defines a quality old money man, a growth mindset, somebody who sees opportunities but is not opportunistic. That's what Justin came up with. I think that's brilliant because you must be able to capitalize on opportunities and make business moves, make moves for your family as a leader. And you are focused on doing things that are within your values. And that's something that's really important. And we'll talk about this on the next episode. I had a great letter about just kind of old money values in general. But essentially, you need to have a set of values that guides your life. And a lot of times in the past, these were values that were given to families, to people, men and women from religion or passed down through family values. And now what I think is really important is we all have the opportunity to define our own values and start to get really conscientious about what matters to us. In fact, I'm hosting a retreat for my team and I got this deck. It's called the One Thing Core Values Deck. And it's a deck of cards. It says the one tool to clarify your purpose and gain direction for your life, partnering with best self. I just found it on Amazon. We're going to do a personal values exercise at the retreat that we're doing with my team. But in here, they have all these different cards. You can hear them. I've got them. Okay. They don't really shuffle very well, but like they're kind of thick. Can you hear that? I'm big on ASMR on this episode, I guess. But in here, they have all of these different values. Each card has its own value. So ambition, well-being, competition, contribution, creativity, diligence, diversity, originality, perseverance. These are all just like random values, right? And so the exercise you're supposed to do is sort them first into two piles of yes and no's, like that, yes, this is a a value that resonates with me, and then no, this is not a value. And then you take the yeses and you start to organize them into things that are overlapping. So when I did the exercise, for example, I picked, I think there's 15 of them here. No, there's 18 of them here. Sorry. I took a picture of them when I did this exercise. And so a lot of them kind of overlapped. Like I had pulled the cards abundance, ambition, financial stability, success, wealth, and personal fulfillment. And those to me are all like, they can be boiled down into one thing. Then I also had truth, integrity, curiosity, and intelligence in one category. I also had time, leisure, contentment, and well-being in one category. And then I also had an outlier, which was optimism. So those were all the cards I pulled. There's like 100, there's more than 100 cards in this deck. And those were my top values. And those are really what drives my life. And so this is my example, and this is a great tool if you have a team or you want to get this for your family. I think this is a great exercise, but it's like, those are truly my values. They're not what I'm deciding I want to value. It's like my innate things that I really value. And when I'm aligned with those things, when I'm aligned with my North Star, I'm a better leader. I'm a better friend. I'm a better partner. And I think the same goes for an old money man. You have to be standing for something on your path. You obviously have to be willing to grow and hear new perspectives and willing to change your mind, but you want to be in integrity with the things that you value. And what makes a great old money man as a partner is when you have complementing or overlapping values, because then you're inherently both focused on the same things, having values, but also having a strong moral compass of knowing what's right or wrong and personal accountability, having an internal locus of control paired with a really aligned value center to mine. That to me is old money all day. And when I say internal locus of control, essentially what that means is, does the person blame their circumstances or their external factors on why things are happening to them? Or are they saying, here's where I contributed to this outcome or that outcome? It's about accountability and not playing the victim. And then we got into this deeper conversation, Justin and I, about this. And, we're talking about what an old money man is. And I'm saying, is an old money man any different than an old money woman? And the more we talked about it, the more it kind of boiled down to, it's just old money people. And when I say old money, it's like Amber's old money. Okay. It's like our old money TM, because it is trademarked, baby. But the old money person, because it doesn't matter what type of relationship you're in. If you're in a heterosexual relationship or a same-sex relationship, or you're binary or whatever it might be, it's not about gender. It's not about an old money man. I don't even think that it matters if it's a love relationship, if it's a family relationship, or it's a friendship. You still are looking for people who have a strong set of values, a strong moral compass, an internal locus of control, growth mindset. They're looking for opportunities. They're willing to stand up and be leaders in whatever community or whatever partnership they're in, or whatever dynamic, right? Family, partnership, etc. And I really loved the conversation, and I loved this prompt, Lachlan, so much, because it truly is like, what are the type of people that we're trying to align with on this journey of when we're building wealth, and not just financial wealth, but life wealth and the richness of living well? Who are the people that we want to go on that journey with? And one of the things that has occurred for me in my life, and if you are on a personal development journey, this might be something that you relate with, is the more that I develop, the more clear it becomes to who's going to continue to be a part of my life because they're also developing and also evolving or efforting or trying, and who will fall out of my life because they're not operating from an internal locus of control, or they're not taking accountability, or they don't have strong values. Because as you know this, like when you get into a relationship with somebody and all of a sudden, whether it's a friendship or coworker or even a partner, and you get into a disagreement with them, but they take no accountability, they have an external locus of control. So the reason they acted the way they acted was actually your fault, right? The way that they're pointing fingers at being a victim because, oh, well, the boss was mean to them, or this happened to me, so that's why I did that. And they can't take responsibility. It's really hard to have ongoing relationships with those people because it's not equitable. And the more you learn about how you can improve doing that in your own life, and, all these things we talk about, like tracking your spending and being disciplined and being accountable to the way that you're spending your money so that you're not in debt, or so you're not surprised when you look at your credit card bill every month. These are all muscles that we're building internally. And as we start to do these things and become more conscious to them in our lives, it really does trickle over to everything. It's like when you work out at the gym and you lift a weight, that doesn't mean you can't lift a heavy brick in your backyard. You can only lift weights. It's like, no, you built that muscle so you can pick up anything. And when you build the muscle of awareness, conscientiousness, discipline, ownership, accountability, when you build that in your finances, it trickles over into every other part of your life. And that's why this is not a tactical only investment podcast. That's why this is not just personal finance where I'm barking at everybody to cut up their credit cards, Mr. Dave Ramsey. This is a holistic podcast. We're talking about life, and we're talking about the habits and the way that they, bleed over into everything that we do, for better or for worse. So to go back to this question, as it relates to what an old money man is, what's the style? The style is they know themselves and they own their style and are proud of it, no matter what the style is. It could be streetwear, it could be beachwear, it could be a suit and tie. It's just true to them. And the attitude is one of growth and openness. You have to be able to grow in your emotional state, in your relationship skills, in your business, in your bank account. In order to do that, you have to be open to learning new information, new education, trying things on, experimenting, not letting it get you down, having a strong sense of self, but also a strong sense of resilience to be able to weather any hard storm in your family, in your bank account, in your business, at your workplace, with your kids. That is an old money man or woman, somebody who can stand on their own 2 feet and be a leader whenever they're needed to be. And I think this is a beautiful question and a beautiful reflection. So thank you so much for asking, Lachlan. I think you are an old money man. With that, I've got a couple more questions here, but we're already at 50 minutes. So I'm going to wrap it up here. We're going to do another week of Q&A. If you have a question for me, you know where to find me, baby. oldmoneypodcast@gmail.com through email. You can go to the website, oldmoneypodcast.com. You can download the net worth tracker there. It's totally free. Or you can submit an anonymous note where you can make up a fake name and email. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. You can always send me a DM on Instagram at Old Money Podcast. And until next time, I hope you have a very wealthy day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Feeling rich? I hope so. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Old Money. If you have questions you want answered, email me at oldmoneypodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on social. We are at Old Money Podcast, and I am at your service. If this episode spoke to you, inspired you, helped you, if you took a single note, it would mean the world to me if you could please just take a minute to rate and review the podcast. And if you're not doing so already, subscribe. And if you have friends who like getting rich, please share this episode with them, even if it's just on your Instagram story. And I'd love you more than Jeff Bezos loves Amazon Prime. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Remember, I'm not your lawyer, I'm not your tax professional, and I'm not your financial advisor. The content presented in this podcast is intended to entertain, educate, inspire, and support listeners in their personal and professional development and does not constitute business, financial, or legal advice. In addition to that, this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services.